much ado about the cabinet reshuffle. Akande joins us next. Good morning and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
So for you, does this meet your expectations?
Well, I think that we have to find a balance because I know, for instance, that there was quite a lot of pressure on the president, competing pressures. There are those who argued and said, look, 1 year is not enough for these guys to understand what they are doing and to do stuff. Very strong, some of his very closest allies actually pushed that, and then of course, there is the public expectation that, look, I mean, this thing is not happening as we expected. And then there's a third explanation, in my view, that essentially the president is satisfied with the core areas of government. Look at the economy. He wants what is happening to happen. So I wasn't expecting any kind of significant change there. What are you going to try to change? So we've removed subsidy. We have changed the forest market, into just one.
Most people say that's what got us in this quandary that we're in.
So that's the point. The president believes that we have to stay the course economically. So my point is that, so if you look at it, the public expectation is different from what the president intends and wants to do. For me, it's neither here nor there. There are some very good new ministers that have been proposed, and for me, the first one is Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, a very brilliant, somebody who has been on that problem for at least 7 years. So now she gets the opportunity to actually take it on and implement many of the ideas that she has come up with. So that's a very good. I even think that's the best appointment in all of this, and that's the economic team. So I think the president has tried to put a little bit more invigoration in the economic team by bringing Jumoke as a minister. And then if you look at the profile of the new livestock minister designate. Not only is he somebody that is very technocratic, he's also somebody that is hands-on in livestock business. So there's a lot of expectation. I'm talking of Idima here. There's also a lot of expectation on that side. So I would think the president has barely just done more than 50% to meet expectation, but I think it should have gone further. For instance, I'm not sure that there is sufficient justification to keep Matawale on the job with all the noise and the allegations that were tendered by a sitting governor. I have heard the explanation that, those allegations are not true. The question is that who made the investigation? I mean, if a governor, a sitting governor of this country, says that this is what this minister is doing, this minister is supporting banditry, this minister's hand is in all of this, we need to have a public review to tell us this is what we find, this is what is right, this is what is not right.
For the public to review it?
No. There has to be a communication. It's not just enough to say that, I don't think, those allegations are not true. No, who investigated it?
Well, I spoke with him, so he was the opinion that if they had any proof whatsoever, take it to the authorities.
Well,
let the authorities investigate it.
Yeah.
And so if anybody
that's the point.
Let them take it there.
That's the point. Has there been that investigation? Look at the case of Beta Edu. At least we know that the matter was referred to EFCC. Now, we don't know the outcome, but at least we know it was referred to EFCC, and the woman was suspended. Okay? So I mean, to have a cabinet reshuffle and Matawale is still there, we don't have a formal explanation.
But she was not the only one that was mentioned. There were some other persons who were mentioned there who are still ministers. So what do we do about some of those? For the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs.
Yes.
So do we need the proper public review?
Yes, of course, you are right. It's not only Beta Edu that. Of course, there was the Interior Minister who also had a very clearly, a tumultuous time trying to get away from it. But I think he survived by some other factors. So yeah, that's true.
What about power sector? and blue economy.
So, and those are the places where you will expect that there could have been more, Matawale in defense, Power, Adilabu, and then the thing about blue economy is that, and we have to say this, the people who designed the ministry, who came up with the idea of a blue economy, they had somebody else in mind to be the minister for blue economy. So I think we have to give the person who eventually, who gets it, you have to give him a little bit of time to sort it out. It will seem to me, and even if those people were there, generally it's a new thing. I'm not sure whether 1 year is enough for us to now begin to see the fruit of the blue economy.
Well, he doesn't even talk about it. That's the frightening thing.
Yeah, the communication is very poor.
Yeah.
The communication is very poor, and that's why I brought the idea that, look, this ministry, some people brought up the idea of this ministry. We all know that somebody else was nominated publicly for the ministry, and then at the end of the day, it was changed. So, we can't say that we don't know what is happening.
Is it a placeholder?
But all the same, I'm not sure that 1 year is enough, really, for something new. The point is that, is there a direction, is there a strategic approach, and then is there a direction, are we getting close to it, or are we just marking time?
Should the president relinquish the Minister of Petroleum, which he holds?
Well, he has decided that he wouldn't, but I think he should, because, look, the boss, again, talking about that, and thank you for bringing that sector, the boss is that even these ministers don't even see, Ekperekpe and Lopebita, they don't even see the president. That's the boss in this town. They don't even see the president. So it goes back to the question of coordination. The coordination is still something that the president needs to pay attention to. Now, he has rejigged his cabinet. Like I said, you have to give him a pass mark. He didn't go as far. But he has to also deal with the question of coordination. Look at an example. EFCC wants to arrest Yahya Bello. Now, the question is it EFCC that wants to arrest Yahya Bello or the federal government of Nigeria? If it is the federal government of Nigeria, how is it that other agencies, DSS, for instance, police, who are around the governor and the former governor, cannot work together with EFCC? That tells you that there is you don't have an enforcer. The president does not have somebody who does the work of enforcement, who should have called all of them to a meeting and said, look, what kind of embarrassment is this? You guys need to get this thing done. It's not there. So the president needs to look at his coordination. Look at the economic management team. What work are they doing? Do we even know whether they are meeting? What is the work that is going on there? There's no coordination. The vice president is excluded from the economic management team. So the president has done the cabinet reshuffle, but he needs to sit down and sort out the question of coordination.
Ayo.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain and Malcolm. Let me begin, from this angle, and it's a question that's been on my mind since the announcement was made about the cabinet reshuffle. How much of the decisions, the changes made by the president, would you say, are influenced more by politics than by performance? And how significant is that?
Okay, well, that's a good question. One doesn't want to, mention too many people's name and all of that. But if you notice, there are two former ministers, okay, who have been reassigned and technically demoted, okay. There's the new Minister of State, I think, for Finance, and I think the new Minister of State for Investment. Both of them were substantive ministers before now. Now they have to become ministers of state. So I think that must be a reflection of the fact that the president was not impressed about their performance, but he still felt that they can still be useful. So give them a second chance, but in a demoting capacity. So that might be a question of why is that so and all of that. But that tells you something about the fact that the president did certainly have a KPI. The boss in this town was that as soon as the president came back from his vacation, he met with Adiza Bala, Usman, who was the one coordinating it. So yeah, so there's a bit of merit there. But also, if you look at the politics of this, you will notice that in Kano, there is now, I mean, Ganduje has taken a little bit more influence, you know, because the minister that was taken away from Kano is actually the minister that Ganduje did not want in the first instance. It's the president's man, and the president has chosen to sacrifice the guy. You know, I think he was in housing and development. That's politics, you know. So I don't know whether I answered your question. So yeah, so you will find a mixture of politics, you will find a mixture of some merit. And like I said, you know, Jumoke Oduwole is clearly merit in my view. Very thoroughgoing. Dr. Alausa, you know, who should have been the Minister of Health before Bill Gates came in with the idea that, look, let's have somebody like Pate as minister. It's now gotten his own full substantive cabinet, you know, in education. And I expect him, you know, based on his experience from the US, to also bring some bright ideas in education. That also, I think, to me, is something, is a very good appointment. And then Netanwe, that's politics, but I guess he's also a good guy. He has a PhD. That was the guy that ran for governor in Plateau and lost to PDP's Mufwang. Now, he has gotten the big ministry, which is humanitarian. That's a very big deal. We must thank the president that now that ministry, first of all, is not cancelled. We've had a lot of rumors that they are going to take it off. Good decision not to scrap that ministry. And we hope that Netanwe, you know, can actually get the job done. That is one big area that addresses the problem of poverty. And poverty is a big deal in our country. With the reform that is going on, we need somebody in that ministry who understands the urgency of the work. And, you know, there's a lot of hope that Dr. Netanwe might be able to get the job done.
That space of performance, let's leave the politics for the politician, Mr. Akande. Now, still in the space of, you know, the performance, you talked about coordination, but I want to talk about collaboration. Now, what Nigerians want is how these decisions of the federal government, of the president in particular, affect them directly, one way or the other. Now, each of these ministers is from a state, and one way or the other represents one state or the other. So I'm wondering, in the areas of strength of each state or region, how do you see the ministers collaborating with the state authorities, the authorities in the subnationals, to catalyze development so that they can come directly to the people? Because the challenge that we have been talking about on this program, Chamberlain, Malpe, and I, is that we need to activate the states. But it would seem like the states are just like maybe some governments on their own that do not want this kind of collaboration. Without this collaboration, I'm not sure how much development you think can be possible. From your experience, what are the challenges of the government, the ministers collaborating or partnering with the states to catalyze development for the country, particularly from their individual states?
Yeah, well, you know, I see the logic and the logic of your question that, you know, federal government has to collaborate with the states in a lot of issues, especially just like you said in your first question, the issues that are important to the people. And what are the issues that are important to the people? Today, poverty, and then human capital development, health, and education. Okay? Now, in all of those capacity, areas, the state themselves have a responsibility. So these are not exclusive list matters. The issues that touch the life of the people, they are not exclusive lists. They are issues that the states themselves have a responsibility to deliver on. So now the federal government now comes in to also see how it can support the state, and that is where the need for the collaboration that you have spoken of, is necessary. Now there are instances where it won't be a problem. I imagine that if it's an APC governor, it should be easier to have collaboration with the federal government that is also an APC controlled. But there will also be instances where the minister is actually considered a political opponent, by the governor of the state. That is going to happen in Plateau, where you are Netanwe, versus Mufwang in the election, and now Mufwang is governor, Netanwe is minister. So, hey, you can figure out how that collaboration will work, or in Kano, where you have NNPP, and then, of course, Ganduje is the big man, is APC, So yes, you're always going to have those political issues. But to your point, yes, it's important, especially in the area of education and health. And then, this issue of poverty alleviation, at least, on those 3 areas, we want to see more collaboration with the state. For instance, there's an idea that was considered, in the Buhari administration, but it wasn't really done. This UBEC fund, for instance, many of the states say that they don't have the counterpart funding for it. What can the Minister for Education, the new Minister for Education, what idea can you put on the table to get these funds to the states so that all these dilapidated structures in the school, the fact that there are no teachers in primary schools, there's no motivation, they are not well paid and all of that, there is money sitting down in the coffers of UBEC, running to billions, close to 50 billion right now, that states cannot access. Can we find a way to say that, look, let's give them this money on a loan, give them moratorium, so that they can get the help in the schools. So this kind of collaborative stuff is what can deliver to the people. And then in the issue of the prices, food prices and transportation, states can also work with the federal government to solve the problem, to be able to move the farm produce from the farms to the market in a way that you don't have the cost of transportation. If it's done by a regular business person who wants to make money, you can cut off that big cost. If the state work with the federal government to say that, look, let's arrange a way to move this produce from the farm to the market in a way that that can bring down the cost. So you're right. There are many areas where states and federal government can collaborate. And we'll be depending and hoping that both states, that both levels of government, we do these things.
Well, to be honest, Mr. Akande, I don't even see how we can have any measure of development at all without the federal government and the states collaborating, even in the exclusive list. In the exclusive list, there is no land called the federal government of Nigeria. The oil that we drill, for instance, is resident in certain states in the country, and we need to find a way to, at least find the middle ground for some collaboration to get them there. But I'd like you to, you've cited some examples. I'd like you to cite the example of the Trade and Industry Ministry and the Agriculture Ministry as well, because minor, nano, micro, small, medium, and enterprises, these are the places where people operate, and these are the sectors that drive any economy in the world, and Nigeria is not excluded from that list. What are the challenges that you see that the micro, small, and medium enterprises are having, that the Minister of Trade, for instance, might be able to intervene in? Of course, they all reside in the states. Maybe, again, we talked about the states. And then agriculture. There is hardly a state in the country that doesn't have anything to do in the area of agriculture that can fast-track food security in the country. So what do you see happening? What kind of KPIs do you think should be set for these two particular ministers in order for us to have results and that will have direct effect on the people within the shortest possible time?
Yeah, I mean, thank you. So in the area of industry, trade, and investment, I think there's a lot that can happen. And you are right. There is we can't have any good governance if there is no effective collaboration between the federal and the state governments. That's why we have the National Economic Council, where there is coordination of the economic activities of the country. So in the area of industry, trade, and investment, that is where you have the MSMEs. That's where you have SMEDAN. That's where you have BOI, Bank of Industry, and a lot of other development financing agencies that can help businesses. The first KPI clearly is to be able to make, financing, how is it that small businesses can get money? Don't forget that, we've had the idea of what do you call it, trader money, and it was to say that, look, how do you get money in the hands of the lowest people in the ranks in the trading? So there's a lot that can be done between the federal government and the state government to close the gap of the qualifications, how people who are in MSMEs don't have access to funding. That is so critical. So POI can be helpful, SMEDAN can be helpful. There's a lot of money there. The industry minister can even attract a lot of development partners to do that. There's the MSMEs clinics that are started under the Buhari Osinbajo administration. Something that was quite spectacular. That can be deepened. In the area of agriculture, we've said it. How can the federal government help the states, to reduce the prices of food? Essentially, how can they support farmers to improve their yield? Federal government don't own land except the one in Abuja. You are very correct about that. So if they work with the states, if the Ministry of Agri thinks that, okay, look, our job is, since we don't have land, our job is to calibrate a process that can improve the agriculture of this country. But it is very doable.
Was that project really spectacular? Giving people free money like that, no collateral, because now they're not any better.
Well, no, the question is, these kind of people don't have collateral.
No, what I meant was just giving monies like that. I mean, how has it improved their lives? It was just money at that time.
No, but
nothing significant.
It did improve their lives,
just that one time.
The problem is that it wasn't sustained, and it wasn't supposed to be.
Is it sustainable just to be giving them money?
No, but it wasn't free money. It wasn't free money.
Well, what was it?
As a matter of fact,
in the investment sense that we know, I mean,
it wasn't free money. It was a loan, and you see, if you paid back,
how many paid back?
Well, about half. As at the time that I last checked, years ago, about half. Don't forget that this thing was essentially terminated around 2019, 2020 because, they took away this, the investment from the vice president of Israel. Okay. But they did, I can tell you a lot of testimonies. The question is to sustain it over time. And the people that paid back, they got more money.
Yeah, but did we have any structure upon which we could have built on? There was none. Well, just give to the market and give people money.
No, there were structures. Don't forget that.
Any data to build up, to plan.
There is a whole data center in POI. A whole data center. And right now, as I'm talking to you, those data are still there. I mean, running into millions of petty traders in this country. A lot of data was acquired, and a lot of the payment, remember, was done electronically. It wasn't cash.
I'm just a little curious. Right now we know that the rejigging within the cabinet is even bigger than the number of ministers who were shown the door. Ministers have been moved around. I think about 10 of them have been moved around. And that certainly changes the color of the cabinet and maybe how ministers will feel. How do you think the first FEC meeting will go? I mean, we don't know what their appointments, we expect that there will be no hitches in the National Assembly for their confirmation. Well, how do you think the first FEC meeting will go after the president reconvenes?
Well, I mean, at least they will need one more chair. Because
but there are 7 more. 5 removed?
7 new.
Yeah.
And then 6 removed if you add Beta Edu. You get, if you have Beta Edu, it's actually 6 that have been removed. So first of all, they will need one more chair. And then we have to look at the configurations of the states. I mean, some states are definitely having like 4 or 5 as we speak. It has happened before, and it's within the president's prerogative. And at times when you just want to get the job done, you may have to care less as long as every other state gets one. So it's going to be a slightly bigger cabinet. What I think is going to be funny is the ministers who have been substantive ministers who are now
ministers of state,
because they cannot make a memo in the council except the minister and the substantive minister.
Should they just resign?
Yeah. Well, don't let's play on the spot.
A quick word, because this is something we haven't said. The president also has a new spokesperson, Mr. Sunday Dare. How do you think he'll fit in on the president's new assignment that he's been given?
Which one is he going to do now? Is he going to be the official spokesperson?
No. I think it is stated in the statement that he's going to be working from the Ministry of Information and Orientation. So, I mean, Sunday Dare has a lot to offer, clearly.
So who's the designated spokesperson?
Mr. Bayo Ononuga right now is the designated spokesperson.
All right, Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs is now Ministry of Regional Development. So we've got Niger Delta Development, NDDC, Southeast Development Commission, Northeast Development Commission, Northwest Development. What is North Central? Troublesome. Well, thank you for coming here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see what happens with all of this. That is Business Morning coming up right now.